Welcome to the next episode in the $5 Million Project. Now today's not a regular episode. I'm actually going to talk to you about a topic that I'm really passionate about and I think is critical if you're going into business, and that is the art of a side hustle. Most people are probably familiar with what a side hustle is these days, but if you're not, it's quite a simple concept. It basically means alongside your core activities, you start focusing on something else. So you could be working, you could have your own business already, you might be studying, but concurrently with that, you start focusing on a project, a work project, to see if you can get it off the ground. And the reason this is important and become popular is because clearly, unless you've got enough money to quit your job and start something new or take that level of risk, the easiest or the, less risky way of doing this is to have a side hustle, definitely for a period of time anyway. The challenges with doing this for most people are finding the time to actually commit to this side hustle. I'll use my own personal situation as an example here. So if I go back sort of 10 or 12 years, I was working full time. I was working an 8 to 5 job, but I couldn't comprehend where I could find time to set up a new business. I was very much of the opinion that the only way I could do it was to quit that job and start a new job. And back then it didn't really help. We were in a very different economy in that I tried to start up a business on the side back then, and my employer at the time said, you can't do that. It's either you work for us or you're going to do that. You can't run the two concurrently. So sort of attitudes were very different to business and side hustles and that side of things back then. But outside of that, it's also your mentality. And my mentality there, even though I was very keen on business and keen to set up something new, I didn't have the right mentality. Now, if I look at what I do today compared with then from a time utilization perspective, it's worlds apart. So I've got 2 young children. I'm running a business that easily takes up 50 or 60 hours a week on its own. I've got the side hustle that I'm focusing on at the moment, and I'm fitter than I've ever been. I'm training in it and actually taking time for sort of physical exercise, which is a big difference from the Chris of 10, 15 years ago. And all of that's fitted in, and I don't feel overwhelmed, I don't feel stressed, I feel completely in control of my life. But what I've done is I've found ways of structuring my day around the priorities, the things that really matter to me. So clearly, some things that I used to do, I've taken out of there, but it's some real basic things. I watch significantly less television now than I did a long while ago. Now, I don't really notice any negative effects for that. I definitely still like watching movies. I enjoy switching off, but I don't do it every day. I look at my day and I construct it around my priorities. So in the morning, I get up nice and early. I make sure I go to work early. If there's time for the first couple of hours of work, I might focus a little bit on my side hustle. I then work as long as I need to. Sometimes, clearly, that's a bit longer than a standard job. And then I will spend some time with the family, and then I'll be thinking about, okay, maybe I should put some time into researching this, or I need to write some notes about this, or if it's another day, I might go to the gym first thing in the morning rather than going to work, or go for a run. And then I just make sure that each day is slightly different, so there's a good mix, and there's some chill out time in there as well, and everything seems to fit together really nicely. There's another important element to this, and that's sort of your passion for what you're doing. For me, working on my side hustle or working on my day-to-day job is not a chore. It's what I love doing. So because I enjoy getting out of bed, because I look forward to working on it, there's less of a sort of negative connotation in my mind saying, I'd prefer to be doing that or I prefer to be doing that. I actually wouldn't. I'm absolutely happy doing what I do. So if you're looking for something you're passionate about or something you can sort of take on as your side hustle, there's a couple of things to consider. And looking back, I've always had ideas, and I meet lots and lots of people who have ideas themselves. I'm sure pretty much everyone out there has an idea about how something can be done better. And most of the time when I speak to people who have these ideas, they come up to me, they're really excited, hey, I've got this idea, I'm going to do this, and it all sounds really good. And then I'll catch up with them a couple of months later and be discussing something, and either they don't even mention that idea, or they mention it in passing, or nothing's really developed from it, or they've got a new idea. And this reoccurring conversation continues to happen. The key difference is there's never any action taken. So if you're looking to take action on an idea, my advice is pretty simple really. It's keep a list of all your ideas and revisit them. And if you revisit the idea and you're not excited by it, I would remove it from your list. If you revisit it and oh yeah, that one sort of, there's merit to it, I like where it's going, dedicate some time to it, make it your side hustle. So maybe it's researching other products that are similar, maybe it's speaking to some of your clients and saying, hey, if I did this, would this work? It could be drawing out some of the basic scope or concepts of it. It could even be going and getting a quick logo designed on a site like 99 Designs or something of that nature. Whatever in your mind's going to enable you to sort of take it to the next stage, and also see whether you can commit that time, whether you've got the passion for that particular project. Generally, I would keep working on it for a sustained period of time. I mean, how much time is completely up to you, but a good few months, and then come back to it and just make sure that you've still got that passion there. If it's starting to tick all the boxes, I would then take the idea and run it past some people you trust. Now, only run the idea past people at this stage, because if you run every idea past people, you're quickly going to be labelled a dreamer. Same as the conversations I mentioned earlier. Hey, I've got this great idea, and people, they've got another idea, I'm not going to listen or pay any attention. In my opinion, when you go to someone with an idea, you've got to be prepared to show them something. Hey, I've got this idea. Here's some mock-ups of what I think it looks like. Hey, I've got this idea. I've spoken to a couple of my clients, and this is what they think. Or here's the logo and the initial website draft. Anything that looks a bit more concrete is likely to get some buy-in from people that you're talking to. And then as part of those conversations, you're probably going to start getting some real-world feedback. Yeah, I like that idea, but yeah, it's already done. It's over here. Or why don't you do this? Or you should go and speak to this person. And at that point, that's when you really start getting a feel for whether you should dedicate more time as a side hustle. So should you go looking for funding? Should you think about leaving your job and setting this up full time? Do you need to dedicate another 3 or 4 months of planning and preparation work? But at least you'll have that idea or that confirmation of the idea in your mind. So that's it. That's my view on side hustles. So clearly, I'm incredibly passionate about them. I don't think I would be where I am today unless I'd actually decided that's what I'm going to do. But if you're sat there and you've got an idea and you're thinking about it, start thinking about, okay, where can I find the time to get this idea in? How can I change my sort of weekly schedule to fit a bit of time in for the side hustle? And I think if you make those changes, you make it so it becomes the new habit to focus a bit of time on your side hustle, you'll notice it becomes easier and easier and easier. And actually your ideas go from being an idea to actually becoming something a little bit more concrete.